Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as y'all know, Scottie Pippen just recently made the news for all the wrong reasons, and it seems like Scottie Pippen has been making the news for all the wrong reasons for the last few years now. I'm not going to get into any of his personal business because it's not my business. That's a little bit too messy. But I do want to touch on the things that are related to basketball. Scottie Pippen has been on this witch hunt against Michael Jordan to an extent that I think a lot of people are now beginning to become disgusted by. And one of those people now seems to be Stephen A. Smith, who I believe knows Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. And to see Stephen A. Smith going off on Scottie Pippen, you know that this is beginning to become nauseating. What happened? A number of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, Scottie Pippen was on a show of one of his former teammates, if I'm not mistaken. And basically he said before he got to the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan was a horrible basketball player. At that point, I'll just cut off the mics. Cut off the mics, turn off everything like it's over. Just hang up the phone, whatever it is. Shut off the internet. Just disconnect the cables. We're done. He said that Michael Jordan was a horrible basketball player. And when he got there, that's when people, they started winning and people forgot about how bad he was. And what? That's what Scottie Pippen said. And of course, you had some lunatics running around the internet talking about, Scottie Pippen, he said it, he said Scottie Pippen said it, so it must be true. That's what these people were doing, right? Well, apparently, Stephen A. Smith, who has his own show, No Mercy, his podcast, caught a whiff of what Scottie Pippen had to say. How couldn't you catch a whiff of it? It stunk so much. He caught a whiff of what he had to say. And when he had an opportunity to talk about it, he absolutely went off on Scottie Pippen, and I loved every second of it. Take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say here.
Number one, you are not one. I have too much respect for Scottie Pippen to categorize him in this fashion. But how you sound on this particular footage of you talking about Michael Jordan, you sound like a damn fool. You sound like an ignorant dude that don't know the game. We know better than that. We know how brilliant you are at knowing the game, Scottie Pippen. We know how knowledgeable you are. So it only brings two other things to mind about you, bro. Envy and bitterness. Those are the two things. Let's count the ways. Number one, you weren't Michael Jordan. First of all, you knew that. You knew it when he left the game. You knew it when you would wear Jordan sneakers when you were on the court. And you would kick your feet up for the cameras to see what you clamoring for Michael Jordan to come back. You didn't hate him then. You didn't hate him when you needed him. Was it Jordan's fault in 1994 when you were going up against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals and it was game 3 and you refused to enter a game because Phil Jackson called the last play for Tony Kukoc instead of you? And Bill Cartwright, the veteran center, Bill Cartwright, there was a former Knick that got traded to the Chicago Bulls in the Charles Oakley deal years earlier, that he was sitting on the bench scolding you while the cameras were rolling? Wasn't it Bill Cartwright who was reduced to tears in the aftermath of Tony Kukoc hitting the game-winning shot that Phil Jackson had called for him against the New York Knicks in that game 3? Wasn't it Bill Cartwright that was reduced to tears because he looked you dead in your face in front of the whole team and talked about you quit on him and you let him down? Wasn't that you? Did Michael Jordan, was he at fault for that? Can anybody on this planet have ever imagined Michael Jordan refusing to enter the game because a final shot wasn't called for him? You know why you can't imagine that? Because Michael Jordan would have had the final shot called for him. And you know what Michael Jordan would have done? He would have kicked it to John Paxson, or he would have kicked it to Steve Kerr, or he would have kicked it to B.J. Armstrong, or Craig Hodges before them. I understand that there's a whole bunch of bitterness going on about Michael Jordan. I get all of that. Because Michael Jordan's clearly received entirely too much of the shine in some of his teammates' eyes. I've heard other teammates talking about him. But it amazes me how everybody want to engage in revisionist history and talk about him now. Well, why didn't you talk about him when he was popular? Why didn't you talk about him when y'all were playing with him? Why didn't you talk about him when he was on the court averaging over 30, busting people's night in, night out, intimidating folks in ways LeBron James never has? And it's not to throw shade on LeBron James. I'm just saying, Michael Jordan was different. How come you didn't talk about him then? How come you didn't talk about him when he was in your face as your teammate, helping you become a champion 6 times over? How come that didn't happen then?
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Basically saying you sound like a damn fool saying that about Michael Jordan. And I'm 100% like, yo, bro, what are we doing? You could have said anything about him. You could have said MJ's ugly. You could have said he's bald. You could say, I don't like the way he walks. You could say, I don't like his teeth. But you can't say that Michael Jordan is a horrible basketball player. So if he was horrible, then what were you? If Michael Jordan was a horrible basketball player, show me a great basketball player in year 2 or year 3 of the NBA career putting up those type of numbers that Michael Jordan was putting up. At a certain point, we got to stop. And now it seems like Scottie just lashing out at Jordan. He's just taking out all of his anger and his frustration. You cannot tell me Michael Jordan is the reason for all of that frustration you're feeling. You cannot put that much stock into another person that apparently you don't even speak to. It means you're harboring something. In my personal view, I think MJ viewed Scottie Pippen as a comrade, and I think Scottie never viewed Michael Jordan as a comrade. This is just my take from afar. I don't know anybody. I don't know any of these gentlemen, but this is what I think. But to have Stephen A. Smith, who's connected, someone as connected as that, to have this type of reaction to some of the things that you're saying, you know that maybe you went just a little bit too far. Maybe you pushed the envelope just a little bit too far. But anyway, that's what Stephen A. Smith had to say, and I 100% concur with him. So what I want to know from you guys is, number one, what do you think about what we had to say? What do you think about Stephen A. Smith's analysis? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace.